the House. We're following even more breaking news on Capitol Hill, a bombshell report about Democratic Senator Al Franken of Minnesota. He is now apologizing after a Los Angeles news anchor, Leanne Tweeden, came forward and said he kissed and groped her without her consent back in 2006 while they were rehearsing a performance on a USO tour that they were both on. Now, Franken was not a member of the U.S. Senate at the time. Tweeden also released a photo that appears to show Franken with his hands over her chest while she slept. She says she's speaking out now because she wants to inspire other victims of sexual assault to come forward and not keep their stories locked up inside for years. I want to read part of Tweeden's account, and this is what she says. It's rather graphic. He, Franken, continued to insist, and I was beginning to get uncomfortable. He repeated that actors really need to rehearse everything and that we must practice the kiss. I said, okay, so he would stop badgering me. We did the line leading up to the kiss, and then he came at me, put his hand on the back of my head, mashed his lips against mine, and aggressively stuck his tongue in my mouth. I immediately pushed him away with both of my hands against his chest and told him if he ever did that to me again, I wouldn't be so nice about it next time. I want to now get to our own MJ Lee on Capitol Hill. And MJ, Al Franken has released a statement about this accusation. What's he saying?
That's right, Dana. First of all, let me say we are standing right outside of Senator Franken's office. We've been here all morning. We have not yet seen him. We don't know if he's still on Capitol Hill. But yes, we have gotten a statement from him. And let me just read that to you in full. He wrote, quote, I certainly don't remember the rehearsal for the skit in the same way, but I send my sincerest apologies to Leanne. As to the photo, it was clearly intended to be funny, but it wasn't. I shouldn't have done it. Now, I just want to make an important point here, Dana. Yes, he did apologize in the statement, and he's not denying that these things happen, but he is also sort of questioning her recollection of the events that she said were so disturbing. So not exactly a full-throated apology. And you can bet that this is only the beginning of the fallout for Senator Franken. A lot of senators are now being asked about this, asked about their colleague being accused of these actions. And Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is now calling for an ethics investigation. Let me just read his statement as well, which also came out a couple of minutes ago. McConnell saying, as with all credible allegations of sexual harassment or assault, I believe the Ethics Committee should review the matter. I hope the Democratic leader will join me on this, regardless of party. Harassment and assault are completely unacceptable in the workplace or anywhere else. Speaking of the Democratic leader, that's of course Chuck Schumer. I should note he did have a press conference that was scheduled for around 12:30 or so. That press conference has now been canceled. Of course, we don't know whether that had anything to do with Senator Franken and these new allegations, but we are going to be looking out for these senators, getting their reactions and see what they have to say about the fact that a current sitting member of the Senate has now been accused by name of sexual harassment.
MJ, thank you so much for that reporting. And as you said, we're waiting to see if the senator comes out of his office. And if he does, let us know. We'll come right back to you. Appreciate it. Let's bring it around the table. Margaret, what's your reaction to this?
Well, this is obviously a troubling report, and you could, to some extent, foresee it from the natural evolution of the Harvey Weinstein scandal. But I think it's probably more important in the immediate context in terms of its implications for Roy Moore, whether he stays in that race, whether the debate or discussion about his past actions in Alabama are now diffused or, kind of divided, whether it becomes Al Franken versus Roy Moore instead of Roy Moore versus himself. So that's the conversation I would look to, and we're still waiting to hear the president weigh in public on the situation in Alabama. The nature of the allegations is certainly different, both in terms of volume and in terms of specifics, the age of the person, the nature of the accusations, and the fact that the person who's being accused in one case has suggested he doesn't know these people or that their reports are false. In the other case, naming the person by name and apologizing, immediately, at least for the fact that they were uncomfortable. So I think they're different, but politically, you can see how this all becomes one thing now.
And this is not somebody who Al Franken kind of met once and did a skit with once. He traveled with her on this USO tour back when he was a private citizen, to the point where he discussed it and her in a speech a few years ago on the Senate floor. Let's listen. Okay, we're going to have it in a second. Stick with us. We have this breaking news. So, we have it now. Let's watch.
And during the show, I was kind of the co-host with a beautiful woman named Leanne Tweeden. And we do comedy routines, and we'd introduce the music, we'd introduce the cheerleaders. I go out and do a monologue. This is something I would do, I'd done for a number of years.
Yeah, I mean, I found video actually from the USO tour in 2006, and you watch it, and you get the sense, again, from her account as well, this was something that she agreed to, maybe a little under duress, to do some kind of body skit. You can kind of understand the bodiness. You've got young men, overseas. It's got a comedian. She looks a little uncomfortable. He actually makes a kind of leering comment to her about her physical appearance. And it's clear from her account and even from the pictures she provided that he seems unable to draw the line between a character in a sketch on stage and getting off stage. I think the big question to what you were talking about, Margaret, is, are there going to be other women who come forward and talk about inappropriate behavior? We're in this weird moment here where we're sort of drawing dividing lines between inappropriate sexual behavior toward minors from 30 years ago and toward people of age, but it's still gross behavior. I think there's a lot more people are talking about sexual harassment being a huge problem on Capitol Hill. I don't think this is the end of it. It's certainly the beginning.
And guys, Senator Franken is one of many politicians on both sides of the aisle who came out and condemned Harvey Weinstein's his actions and his behavior. On his Facebook page, he put a statement up on October 10th, and he said, "As we hear more and more about Mr. Weinstein, it's important to remember that while his behavior was appalling, it's far too common."
That's why I think it's shocking, his statement here. Like MJ was saying before, this is not a full-throated apology. Franken's in this sort of overlay here. We now see that this is a part of the culture in Hollywood, which he was a part of. CNN's own reporting from CNN's own reporting, we know this is part of the culture on Capitol Hill. Franken is at the center of both of these, and he comes out with the statements today with a half apology, saying that's not quite the way he remembers it. Well, the point is that that's the way she remembers it, and I think he's going to have a lot of trouble getting away with trying to parse this in a way that the way she remembers it is different, or the way it wasn't intended. That's beside the point. I do think Margaret's point earlier is true, that I think this helps the Roy Moore. I think this gives credence to those accusations. Now this is not just an attack on a Republican candidate. There's bipartisan accusations about a sitting senator and a potential senator, and shows that this is not a partisan issue.
Right. Well, that's true, but it is important, and I know you would agree, to differentiate and delineate between allegations of going after minors and,
with very aggressive behavior and an
adult, which neither is good. Let's just say that for the record. Carl, you and I have walked the halls of Congress together for many, many years. I'm guessing that what the guys say to me off the record is different from what they say to you off the record.
I don't know why you would think that.
I don't know. Meaning, what do you think? Do you think that there's more coming?
Yeah, I think 100%. That I think for Al Franken, his big problem is there more coming on him specifically? I mean, we all looked at each other when we watched that speech when he said, "I was with a beautiful woman," right? And he said that afterwards. That jumps out at you. There's a lot of pressure right now on Capitol Hill to identify people and to come out with names. Listen, there's been rumors, there's been lots of stuff that's gone on. There's been a reluctance to bring forward names because these are people you have to work with too. They're elected. You need to make some arrangement with them. So we'll see whose names are beginning to be named. I also want to say about Mitch McConnell with the ethics request. This is a classic Mitch McConnell move. He wants everyone to share the pain here. He's got Roy Moore out there. It's like, well, here's Al Franken, who is not popular among Republican members of the Senate, for sure.
You don't say.
And and it's interesting. Interesting, Senator McConnell was the chairman during the Packwood ethics investigation.
I was just going to say that. He's consistent.
Right.
Mitch McConnell is consistent.
But he used a lot of these tactics during that investigation, was slowing down. Slowing it down, doing some other things. And one of the main things he did to avoid having public hearings was threatening death. Right.
Probably. All right, everybody stand by. President Trump is on Capitol Hill as we speak. He's in a meeting with House Republicans. We're waiting to see if he speaks to us, to the reporters, when he comes out, what happened in that meeting. They're talking, of course, about the tax reform bill that will come up for a vote in about an hour or so. But the Senate Republicans, they're hitting some speed bumps. We'll explain after a break.